For more exclusive content from CNBC Crypto Trader, hit the subscribe button now.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.
Bitcoin takes a blow as the Ran Neu-Ner ETF is withdrawn. A big week for securities token as T0 launches its trading platform. Tron gets more criticism for its Bittorent plans. Tonight we speak to Justin Sun and get the inside scoop. World leaders gather in Davos, but this year the crypto narrative is very different. It's a big week on the crypto markets and you're tuned into the world's only cryptocurrency investment show here on CNBC. Let's take a look at the big news making crypto news headlines. Bitcoin took another blow this week when the CBOE withdrew the application for the much anticipated Ran Neu-Ner ETF. The story broke when my colleague Bob Pisani interviewed Jan van Eck on the ETF Edge show. Van Eck cited the US government shutdown as the primary reason for the withdrawal, stating that they had been working very closely with the SEC to address the SEC's concerns. But since the SEC is part of the US government and they're now in shutdown, a more prudent approach would be to withdraw the application and to refile it at a later date. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Let me just pivot a little bit and ask you about Bitcoin ETF. You're one of the people that has a Bitcoin ETF application out with the SEC. You told us this morning you're going to be withdrawing that application. It was up for a thumbs up or thumbs down within the next month. Can you tell us why you withdrew the application?
Yeah, so technically, well, you know, the SEC is affected by the shutdown. So we were engaged in discussions with the SEC about the Bitcoin-related issues, custody, market manipulation, prices, and that had to stop. And so instead of trying to slip through or something, we just had the application pulled, and we will refile and re-engage in the discussions when the SEC gets going again.
Van Eck then went on to say something really interesting about the relationship between gold and digital gold, and about their prospects for success around the ETF approval. Let's take a listen.
I do think that Bitcoin pulled a little bit of demand away from gold last year in 2017. Interestingly, we just pulled 4,000 Bitcoin investors, and their number one investment for 2019 is actually gold. So, gold lost to Bitcoin, and now, it's going the other way.
But I want to clarify about why you pulled the application. You're not saying you pulled the application because SEC is closed necessarily. I mean, they were very concerned and have expressed their concerns about the inability to solve the custody problem, as well as the fact that most Bitcoin's priced overseas where they don't control it. Those are still major issues. I think you faced the prospect they would have turned you down anyhow, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. But we think we actually have pretty solid answers to those, but we just need to really demonstrate it very, very clearly and convincingly to the regulators, and we were trying to do that, but we obviously can't have meetings while they're shut down.
Now, surprisingly, the withdrawal of the ETF had very little impact on the price of Bitcoin, which held firmly above $3,500 US. As the bear market enters its second year and most tokens have lost over 80% of their value, there are some tokens that are managing to perform despite the downturn. Bear markets are famous for separating the men from the boys, the weak from the strong, and for bringing the cream all the way up to the top. One of these tokens that has indeed risen all the way up to the top is a token called Tron, a token founded by Justin Sun. And I've got Justin Sun with me all the way from Hong Kong. Justin, Tron has been one of these tokens that has performed well despite the bear market, and it's in fact up about 30% this year alone. For our viewers who don't know what Tron is, tell us a little bit about what Tron is and why you think it's performing so well.
Sure. Tron is one of the world's largest blockchain operating system. So we have like almost 200 decentralized applications right now running on the Tron platform. So it's just like Android and the iOS. It's more like a blockchain operating system.
Justin, Tron talks about very fast transaction speeds. Give us a feel for the type of throughput that you're achieving on the network.
Tron, we can achieve 2,000 TPS, which is 200 times than the Ethereum. And also right now for our daily transaction, we can achieve like 3 million every day.
Okay, so now Justin, you achieve these speeds using a delegated proof of stake model similar to EOS's model, and EOS has come under fire from the critics for compromising on decentralization. Now, Tron has 27 validators, if I'm not mistaken. How do you respond to the same criticism?
Oh, first of all, I think we need to define the decentralization. I think we have several ways to define the decentralization. First of all, is the network controlled by a single party or a sole party? I think it's not, because the 27 super representatives, they have the equal rights, and they are all elected by the people. The second thing is there like any authority they can approve, like anybody can run for nodes or run for the election? So basically we have like no entry barrier. So that's also different from EOS. You know, like right now in the EOS, they have this kind of the arbitration committee who can rule out lots of the rulings that even the super representative or they call it like block producers must take on those rulings. So we also don't have this. So every super representative have equal rights, and nobody can doing anything without the super representative agree on that.
Justin, these 27 validators, who are they?
So basically, first of all, it's very decentralized. They are super representative based in LA, called CNBC. They are doing amazing job. They're doing like payment on the Tron ecosystem and fund lots of the DApps. We also got people from South Africa. His name is Crypto Guys in CA. And also we got people from Romania, from Europe, also in United States, in China, in Japan, in Korea. So basically it's very worldwide and the diversification.
So Justin, I do want to talk to you about Bittorent, but before we get into Bittorent, give us a feel for the type of dApps that are being developed on the Tron network. Give us a feel for what's going on the network.
Basically, mainly right now, the dApps play on the Tron platform is the game. Lots of the game right now come on board every day. We got like 3 to 5 dApps playing out, get on board like every day. So right now it's 200 plus. We think next month's gonna be double. So lots of the game right now. Some of the game, for example, is like idle game. So it's like just like the Royal Clash. So basically, you can just build your castle, build your infantry, and then invade in others people's kingdom. So there are also like PvP game. PvP game is more like player versus player. So they can build their different armies, and then they can fight each other. So there is also some other games like pets racing games like Blockchain Kitty.
So it sounds promising, but as we stand today, are there any dApps that have a lot of active daily users?
Yeah, definitely. I think Tron right now, we got almost 40K users right now every day, but we just start like 2 months. So so basically, I think our DAU gonna double and even triple next month. So it's like, even though right now it's 40K, but it's increased like dramatically.
Okay, now let's talk about the big story, and that's of course Bittorent. For our users that don't know what Bittorent is, can you tell us a little bit about Bittorent?
Bittorent has been around like in 2003. This is a very successful P2P network, responsible for the P2P file transfer sharing. And also at the same time, we have like over 100 million active users around the world in 138 countries.
Today marks a pivotal day not only for Dr. Patrick Byrne and the T0 team, but also for the world's securities industry as a whole. Just a few moments ago, T0, the world's largest blockchain securities trading platform, began trading for the first time. Holders of the T0 token can now trade their tokens on the newly launched trading platform through a partnership with a broker-dealer called Dinosaur. Patrick, welcome back to Crypto Trader. When we spoke last time, you were optimistic, but you were nervous as to whether you could get through Wall Street and through the regulators. But it seems like now you're all systems go and T0 is live.
All systems are go, and just minutes ago, we enabled the platform and have sent investors emails to tell them that their wallets are now live. Trading is now enabled. The first security token, is our platform is now live.
Okay, let's actually talk about what's live on the platform. What tokens are live on the platform right now?
Currently, there's only one token, and that is the T0 token itself, which we sold to accredited investors in last year, in 2018. And it's basically a royalty on the revenue of the top line of the T0 platform. So people invested in it if they thought that the T0 platform was going to, if security tokens were going to take off. This is a piece of the adjusted gross profit or of the platform. So that's the nature of that security token. It's not common stock. It's not a piece of the underlying profit share. It's something off the top line.
Patrick, does this represent the dawn of a new era for the financial industry, where we'll see a whole lot of new types of instruments? Because just this instrument that you're describing now wasn't possible in the old days. I mean, in the old days, you could have debt and equity, and now you're talking about a completely new instrument that gives you a percentage of the top line.
I think it is the dawn of a new era. If we like to say that 3 years ago, the first private bond we did, a blockchain instrument, it was a bond, that was like the Wright brothers flying a Kitty Hawk. Then we got a blockchain security to the public called OSTKP. That was the Chuck Yeager moment. This is probably the Yuri Gagarin moment. This is the first orbit of the Earth. It's a really big step. May even be the moonshot. There's a book by an intellectual named Francis Fukuyama called Trust, and it is about its quarter of a century old. But it was about how you can understand different societies based on how they solve the problem of trust. And some societies are high trust, some societies are low trust societies, etc. What security tokens do, but ultimately you have different kinds of institutions and social patterns to achieve trust. Security tokens let mankind achieve trust in this brand new way, have trusted exchange where the trust isn't guaranteed by some third party or some schmuck that we really don't know if we can trust. It's guaranteed, the trust is achieved through an algorithm that is protected cryptographically, which relies on sort of the deepest laws of mathematics. So no one can buy it. No one can buy it off. We can have honest institutions that are impossible to buy off, for anyone to buy off. It's really quite a new era for humanity.
Patrick, last time we spoke, you anticipated multiple challenges from the regulators and multiple hurdles from the incumbents on Wall Street. How was the process with the regulators?
I would describe it as fair. And I'm sort of a decade ago, I was a huge critic of the SEC and had a lot of interactions with them. But I have to say, it's actually been quite interesting. I expected quite a different time working interacting with the SEC. They were super professional and quite fair.
Patrick, now that the platform is up and running, what targets have you set yourself for the platform? Are you looking at a new number of tokens? Are you looking at a total market cap? Are you looking at a trading volume? What are the metrics here?
We don't have any targets like that yet. We are building the institutional side of our business that is going to interact with the companies who have been knocking on our door for 2 years saying, when can we get tokens out too? So we're building that side, and we're hiring at the senior level. We have hired some wonderful folks into the company. But I'd also say, next is, although we can start having other companies join us, we are vetting them. We don't want to just be like, look at what's happened in the crypto world this year. We knew that was going to happen. Buffett was out there saying it was going to happen. Just this, we don't want bubbles and pops. That's horrible for the long-term prospects of the technology. We have a deal with Boston Options Exchange, one of the 13 lit exchanges in the country, a wonderful deal. Lisa Fall is running it. It's a joint venture. where we're taking our technology and they have applied to the SEC to open an exchange around with basically our technology at the guts of it. And that's so getting that live is exciting because then we can start taking listings.
So that's Patrick Vernon. He's super excited about the launch of T0, as he should be, because they have been working pretty hard at it. Now let's cross over to Sam Nur-Salehi, who's the CEO of T0, for the more practical side of things. Sam, a huge day for you today. A few moments ago, you sent a mail to all T0 token holders that they can start trading their tokens. Let's take a look at the more practical side of things. If people want to start trading their tokens, what's the process?
So they go onto our platform, which is in partnership through Dinosaur, a broker-dealer. They onboard there, and their tokens would get uploaded into their brokerage account. At that point, they can go sell their tokens. They could also deposit cash and do buys.
Some people got tokens and they elected to have them sent to a MyEther wallet or some other Ethereum wallet. Can those people freely transfer their tokens?
They can transfer them, but if they actually want liquidity or the ability to trade, they would have to go onto our brokerage account in partnership with Dinosaur.
Who is Dinosaur and how do they fit into the picture?
So we needed an introducing broker-dealer. So our approach to building all of this was, let's get all the right actors in the group and take a very incremental approach to releasing this technology. And so we needed a broker-dealer, and we found Dinosaur that has a great reputation, and so they're onboarding our investors and allowing them to trade using our technology.
Can anyone trade these T0 tokens, or are they only for accredited investors?
Yeah, so once you onboard, they do the accreditation check, and if you are accredited, you are then allowed. Now that's in a 1-year lockup period, so we're following the regulatory laws again here, but after that 1 year, it's going to open up to the masses to trade, to buy and sell tokens.
This week saw an array of announcements in the world of securities tokens, with Securitize also announcing that they have been selected to join the IBM Accelerator. Joining me on the line from a very cold New York City is Carlos Domingo. Carlos, it's an exciting time in securities tokens with the launch of T0. What are you expecting from the launch? Are you expecting big volumes and lots of tokens?
So yes, we're very excited about the launch of T0, especially because, as you know, liquidity is one of the big promises of security tokens, and so far there's only one exchange that has launched, Open Finance, and 2 others that have done live tests, SharesPost and AirSwap. But it's still very early days in terms of liquidity, and we think that a big player like T0 is going to start changing things and making the promise of liquidity a reality.
Okay, let's talk about Open Finance because you mentioned them. You talk about liquidity. Is there a liquid market for securities tokens on Open Finance right now?
Oh, no, not yet. So first, they open at the end of the year, and they're still, approving investors to go into the exchange. Second, there's only 2 tokens currently traded, the Blockchain Capital BCAP token and SpiceBC. Both they're powered by our digital securities protocol for compliance, but 2 tokens is not enough to attract a big audience of people. We're looking at listing more tokens very soon with them, and as well as, with T0 and other players.
Okay, let's get back to T0. Did you expect the platform to open with just the T0 token or with a whole array of tokens?
Well, I don't expect to be an array of tokens from the beginning, particularly because there's no an array of tokens that had been issued to start with. So we tried very hard at the end of last year to look at how many real security tokens have been issued. There is a lot of ongoing security token offerings, 50, 60, some people say 100, but real tokens backed by an asset that have raised money and that have been issued on the blockchain, there's very few. There's maybe like a dozen that we can identify. So definitely there's not going to be an array of tokens. I think they'll probably start with their own token and then periodically start listing some of the other listed tokens like BCAP and SpiceBC and some of the upcoming ones that we're going to be listing in both exchanges.
Do you expect T0 to be the biggest company in the space?
Well, they are the biggest company at the space. If you look at the amount of money they raise and the length of time they've been around, because this is not a new company. They've been around, I think, since 2015 or 16, and they bought a bunch of companies. So certainly they're a big player today. There's other big players there that might enter the space but haven't really entered, like Circle or Coinbase. So yes, at the moment they're a very big player, and that's a good thing, right? Because we need properly funded big companies entering the space to make it grow.
Okay, staying with securities tokens, There is one company that has been making waves in the security token space. A company called Planet Digital announced this week that it would be launching a new token that would give investors a unique opportunity in the gaming industry. The company is made up of a whole lot of industry veterans, each with multiple successes in the space. Joining me from the ski slopes in Austria is Kelly Sumner. Kelly, thanks for taking a break from the slopes. With all the big news around securities tokens in the last week, you guys also made an announcement. Who is Planet Digital? And give us a bit of background about what Planet Digital is actually doing.
So we launched a token last week. Planet Digital Partners is a collective of industry veterans wedded with a group of crypto guys. And we've been looking at blockchain technology and how you can introduce that into video games and actually not just securitize them, but actually make video games much more interesting. And we've come up with a range of ideas that we're going to launch into video games coming fall of this year.
Kelly, you talk about we and you talk about industry veterans. Who is on board and what is their track record?
Okay, that's a good point. Well, I'm on board. I've been in the industry nearly 40 years. It'll be 40 years in June. My pedigree, I worked at Commodore. I was the CEO of Take-Two, the guys who brought you Grand Theft Auto. I was the CEO of Red Octane, the guys who brought you Guitar Hero. We have Chris Deering, who was he headed up PlayStation for the whole of Europe. We have a guy called Dave Rosenbaum, who headed up the largest US distributor of video games in America, plus a whole wealth of other guys.
Okay, and what are you actually launching? What will the product of Planet Digital actually be?
Okay, so we're actually going to be selling video games. And as I said, the first one comes out fall of this year. And these video games will have embedded in them blockchain technology. So yes, you can play the video game as it is, or you can add, or you can play it with the technology. We've already got 3 titles which are part of our roster, which is Cooking Mama, Bass Hunter, and Kabilis. Between them, they've sold over $300 million worth of games historically, and we will release another 7 games further to that. And the idea is that the people will invest in the token. And they will get a dividend on all the games that sold. So until we will pay 80% of the games sold net profits to you until you've recouped 100%. After 100%, we will pay you 40%, and then we will pay you 5% on any sequels. And we will start paying dividends as early as the first quarter 2020.
So it sounds like you've created a new instrument. It doesn't sound like this instrument is actually equity. What is this new instrument?
Oh, right. Sorry. No, it's not equity. It's what you're doing is you're investing in a portfolio of games that we will either we already have or we will develop for the token. And we expect those games, as I say, to be on sale from fall this year. And the games you will get lifetime revenue on those games. So if the game sells for 5 years, you will get dividends for 5 years. And any sequels to those games, those first 10 games, we will pay dividends up until 2025.
Kelly, you made a bold statement earlier. You said that blockchain can enhance video games. How does blockchain improve the video game experience?
It is. I mean, obviously, this is a security thing. I don't think I necessarily need to talk to your viewers about that. But let's look at some practical ideas. So, for instance, if you and I were playing a game and we had friends that were viewing this game, streaming it, and you had me in a corner, I'd run out of all ammunition, I have nothing left, and you're about to go in for the kill, so to speak. If one of our friends actually had some ammunition in their wallet, they could pass that through to me, and I could use that ammunition because previously you've upset that guy. So viewers can interact with streamed games, which they couldn't do before. Also, you've got a unique key, obviously, around the game and around you as a user. And as you play the game will understand how you're playing it. And so the game that you played today may not be will not be the same game, even though it is the same game, but the style and the way you play it, it will understand how you're playing it, and it will change for that in the future.
Kelly, you set your sights on an ambitious raise, and especially in this kind of bear market. How much are you raising?
We're raising $38 million, and it's $1 a token.
Okay, and for that $38 million, let me make sure that I understand what investors are buying. Are you saying that investors are betting that the next 10 games that are launched will make just over $45 million in profit? And if they do, then investors will make more money than they invested.
That's basically it, absolutely. Now, if you take a game, so currently a box game or a downloadable game is netting us $15 net profit. So a game will have to sell 300,000 units across multiple platforms. Now, I mean, that isn't a lot of units. And we're not taking into consideration that we discover, the next Grand Theft or Guitar Hero, which has been discovered by, people that I'm with and me. So, we just need solid games and a solid return. The 3 games that are already part of our portfolio, as I said, Cooking Mama, Kabilis, and Bass, they've already generated $300 million in sales historically. So it's not a big bet, I don't think.
And as we wrap up tonight's show, it would be a miss of us not to talk about the World Economic Forum in Davos. And as world leaders gather in Davos this year to discuss the biggest economic issues, it seems that there are 2 things that are very different this year. Firstly, there's no American delegation in Davos, which may make any big decisions rather difficult when it comes to implementation. And then, it seems that the crypto narrative has changed significantly. Last year, there was a large crypto delegation with a whole lot of branding and a whole lot of great sentiment. While this year, it seems that the bear market has changed the sentiment. So far, we've heard that Bitcoin may go to zero, and more recently, the CEO of PayPal had this to say about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, what do you think? Prices dropped materially past year.
Listen, I have always thought that crypto was more of a reward mechanism for implementing blockchain, as opposed to really a currency. And we're not seeing many retailers at all accept any of the cryptocurrencies. But I think the underlying technology is still very interesting.
I guess they'll all be back next year with a different narrative, and I'll be back next week with the same narrative. Until then, I'll be on Twitter at CryptoManRun, and you should trade well, my friends.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.